Great, thanks. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the July 15th regular council meeting. I'll call the meeting to order at 5:30 PM and ask if there are any amendments to the agenda.
To you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Thank you. Confirmation that the agenda for the regular council meeting of July 15th, 2026 be approved as presented. Moved by Councilor Timpson, seconded by Councilor Van Breda. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Declarations of pecuniary interest.
To you, Mayor Lawrence, I have.
Here we have some minutes to adopt, starting with the minutes of the June 17th, 2026 regular council meeting be adopted as presented. Moved by Councilor Pasco, seconded by Councilor Lego. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. And a motion to receive minutes of January 28th, 2026 Sioux Lookout Committee of Adjustment and Consent Granting Authority, May 14th, 2026 Environment Committee, and May 26th, 2026 Municipal Truth and Reconciliation Committee be received. Moved by Councilor Van Breda, seconded by Councilor Pasco. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried, thank you. And a motion to receive minutes of the May 28th, 2026 District of Kenora Home for the Aged be received. Moved by Councilor Anchikanev, seconded by Councilor Lego. Any discussion? Favor? Carried, thank you. And we'll determine which items require separate discussion, starting with 7.1, winter control update. And 7.2, award of contract, design and tender, document preparation for Hidden Lake landfill leachate, collection system rehabilitation and access road construction. 7.3, deeming bylaw application, 60 and 62 7th Avenue. 7.4, increased municipal accommodation tax. Councilor Timpson. 7.5, 2024 operating surplus. Councilor Pasco, Councilor Timpson. 7.6, 2026 municipal operating budget to actual update. 7.7, flag lowering policy. Timpson. 7.8, regulating the use of fireworks. I think we need to lift this one. 2021 to 2025 Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, 2026 review and amendment. So by my record, we have lifted 7.1, 7.4, 7.5, 7.6, 7.7, and 7.8. So a motion to adopt items not requiring separate discussion, item 7.2, item 7.3, and item 7.9. Moved by Councilor Lego, seconded by Councilor Van Breda. All in favor? Carried, thank you. And I think now we move on to delegations. Is that correct? The delegation is joining virtually, is that correct?
To you, Mayor Lawrence, yes, that is correct. But I know she hasn't joined us.
So can, how about I amend the agenda? We'll see what happens in the next,
Sure.
the next few minutes. Just interrupt in the next.
Yeah,
4 or 5 minutes. Yeah, I think we'll just, okay, so let's move on to staff reports, 7.1. That council received the public work manager's report concerning the 2025-2026 winter control season on July 15th, 2026. And further, the council approves the transfer of 100,000 from the roads reserve to assist with the additional expenditures which arose during the winter season. And further, the council approve any surplus at the end of 2026 to automatically go back into the roads reserve to help replenish the 120,000. Move by Councilor Lego, seconded by Councilor Van Breda, and so you didn't write down who lifted the Councilor Pasco, thanks.
I was just reading some of the reasons why, of the additional funding. And one of the reasons was that we're trucking our heavy equipment to Dryden to be repaired by heavy equipment mechanics. Why are we doing that? Why aren't we using the two local businesses here?
We are using local whenever we can, but there are times when either they're not available or they can't do what we need them to do. So in those instances, we have to take them out of town.
Okay, and so are we trucking with Sioux ourselves? Are we trucking ourselves, or are we bringing in out of town people to truck as well?
We generally float vehicles ourselves.
Okay.
I had reason to, not my own vehicles, but other vehicles, be involved with garages recently, and the local garages are backlogged by weeks and weeks. Just,
A few new ones, but I definitely want to acknowledge the great work and support that we have received from the local garages. While we've been down on mechanics, we would really have been lost without the support and great work that they've done.
but there's just not enough of them, not enough of us, not enough of many things. Anything further on this item? Favor? Carried, thank you. Item 7.4. The council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 40-26, being a bylaw to impose municipal accommodation tax on the purchase of transit accommodation in the municipality of Sioux, and rescind bylaw number 87-19. Moved by Councilor Van Breda, seconded by Councilor Costco and Councilor Timpson, starting with you.
Yeah, my difficulty with this is that we had an agreement with the tourist operators, and one of the reasons we felt that they would be exempt was because some are within the municipal boundary and some aren't. I think we need to keep that covenant with them because of this reason. And that if there are any new tourist operators coming into business in town, I think it would be suitable to apply the municipal tax there, but I think we have to see this as they were grandfathered in some ways. I think we have to respect that.
Through Mayor Lawrence, so just to clarify, we're not suggesting that tourist outfitters become part of the municipal accommodation tax as of right, only when they're using their accommodations for the short-term rentals, which is typically out of season. So that we're just saying when they're not acting as tourist camp operators and they are acting like B&Bs or Airbnbs, then they should be treated like B&Bs and
Oh,
Airbnbs.
okay, I missed that. Thank you.
And
Councilor Costco.
they do advertise their accommodations on Airbnb. So then that's when they would be
Okay.
taxed. I just wanted to mention so that people know, like, I love the step that you're going to make yourself a provider on Airbnb. So people don't, and the other platforms, there's multiple platforms. So it's, you just choose Sioux Lookout accommodation tax and do nothing ever. And the platform does all the work for people. So for people to say that this is so much work, this is a pass-through tax, it's just like the platforms do the exact same thing for GST. You just click it, that you want them to collect it, they do all the work, you do absolutely nothing. So now we're going to be in that same category where they just click the Sioux Lookout municipal accommodation tax and you do absolutely nothing but click that button. So that is a fabulous thing that people, so easy to figure out, not a lot of, it's absolutely zero work. So I'm really happy that you're doing that and that hopefully we get the word out and people understand it.
Thank you, Councilor Costo. Yes, we are always looking for ways to reduce burden on business owners and ratepayers generally. And this opportunity came forward, and I have to acknowledge the treasurer for the research and sort of getting all of this in place. It will certainly make things easier for I think both for the business owners and also for the end users.
In the report, I thought you said it would result in $30,000 additional. And that seemed to understate, I thought, based on, okay, the math I,
So through you, Mayor Lawrence, we are looking at, as we often are, conservative in those types of projections. There's still, revenues could certainly exceed that for sure, and we suspect that in some cases they will, in most cases they probably will. But we want it to be conservative with our projection.
those were conservative to me, based on.
Well, it's 2%, so
But it's 2%,
it's an additional
it's
2%.
an addition, which is, it's,
So we brought in about 1.1 million over 5 years. So
so 200,000 a year. And you're going 1.5 times, it looked to me like we might get an extra 100,000 based on that 2%.
maybe.
Okay.
Again, occupancy rates fluctuate. We have new hotels coming online. We expect more than 30,000, but
Good. Anything further? All in favor?
No,
Favor.
You have a question?
Sorry?
7.4, right? Yeah. Yeah, has this change been discussed with the tourist operators?
not yet. We will let them know once council makes.
Should we maybe discuss it first, let them know before this dumped on them? And
Well, that's not council. We're treating them when they're acting like an Airbnb or a B&B, we're treating them like a B&B. That's essentially.
but up till now, they haven't been paying it. I would think it would only be fair to discuss it with them before we put this on them, or let them know in advance that we've discussed it and it's likely to go through.
Councilman Leahy.
I believe it's not coming into effect till January 1st, 2027. So I think we have lots of time to discuss and let them know that that is coming.
This is an open meeting. If anybody's paying attention, they know now. Yeah, I mean, move on. 7.2,
Someone speak? Yeah,
the delegation is joined.
has joined. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll,
I'll vote on this one and then.
yeah, all in favor? Yes, thank you. Come back to 7.5 after the delegation. So is the,
I'm just admitting her now. So,
okay,
yeah.
Muted.
She's
She muted or something.
Maybe one's video and one's audio.
Probably.
Sure, just. Good evening, Ms. Chevrier. It appears that you're muted.
Doesn't have a camera.
So if we can ask you to turn your camera on and unmute yourself, and we can proceed with the delegation.
Working on it.
all right, so, welcome, Ms. Chevrier. CAO, do you want to introduce this and just,
Sure.
this is, a delegation, you'll have 10 minutes from the time you start, Ms. Chevrier. And I'll let the CAO just explain
Sure.
how the process works.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, thank you. So with delegations, as Mayor Lawrence noted, the presenter has up to 10 minutes to present to council, and then council may ask questions if they have any. And then, of course, no decision is made at the meeting, and then a report follows at a subsequent meeting to provide information and to enable council to make a decision.
All right, Ms. Chevrier, the microphone is yours.
Good evening. My name is Tracy Chevrier. I am the owner of the property located at 788 Highway 72 of Sioux on the Frog Rapids side of the bridge. I'm formally requesting that council remove the property hold provision currently affecting my property. Since the holding provision was imposed, I have fulfilled every requirement previously established by council. This includes maintaining 2 property surveys that satisfy the requirements outlined by the municipality. I also retained a qualified environmental engineer from TBT Engineering out of Thunder Bay to conduct the necessary environmental assessment. My environmental engineer worked directly with municipal staff, Opar Bright and Jody Brinkman, over the course of several weeks regarding the environmental concerns related to the alleged fish habitat. Throughout the process, my engineer provided the information requested cooperatively and fully with the municipality. Council previously indicated that the holding provision was necessary to protect the fish habitat reportedly identified by the Heritage Trust Foundation. However, despite extensive efforts on my part, I have been unable to locate any documentation supporting this existence of such designation. I have contacted the Ministry of Natural Resources, Fisheries and Oceans of Canada, and the Heritage Trust. None of these organizations have been able to provide me any evidence or direction that has been the formal designation of this property record. Heritage Trust reported to me appropriate signage or identification indications would be at the place or located on said property if they had any involvement through the Heritage Trust. To date, I've found no documentation or markers anywhere within the Frog Rapids area. Furthermore, there are no fish restrictions in place at this location during open fishing season. I'd also like to raise concerns regarding the conduct of the municipality while holding provision has been in effect. During the Administration of Transportation, a bridge rehabilitation project adjacent to my property, I voluntarily allowed the contractor to use my property as a marshalling area for storing concrete barriers and equipment. I did so in good faith to help facilitate a timely completion of an important infrastructure project for the benefit of the residents of Sioux. Despite this cooperation, municipal bylaw officers approached the Ministry of Transportation contractors and advised them that I did not own said property. I found this conduct to be inappropriate, disrespectful, and unnecessarily disruptive. In my view, these actions had potential to delay or jeopardize this project. And at one point, I relocated a piece of equipment approximately 35 feet off my property onto the Ministry of Transportation land. The equipment remained on the same slope, the same grade, and there was no questions ever asked. The equipment remained there for the duration of the rest of the time due to the ongoing issues from the bylaw officers. The municipality raised no further concerns at this point. This inconsistency has led me to believe that my property has been subject to treatment that I consider very unfair. I also understand that the municipality threatened to involve the Ministry of Environment regarding the contractors and activities on said property. When I invited the municipal staff to contact the ministry, as I was more than confident that all work was conducted with the appropriate environmental requirements and no concerns were to be ever identified to me. Nobody from the town approached me in any consistency to ask me about the contractor. Throughout this process, I have acted in good faith, complied with every requirement imposed upon me, retained qualified professionals, cooperated fully with both municipal and other agencies. Despite these efforts, the holding provision remains in place without, to my knowledge, any documentation evidence supporting the original bias for the continuation. For these reasons, I request that the holding provision be removed off my property of Highway 788, Highway 72. And I'd like to bring to attention that this whole hold was to do with the fish habitat. If you look at the location, there's actually a tourist camp that has not one, two fuel tanks less than 100 meters from the water from said fish habitat with no safety, no spill containment. There's not even a safety spill containment anywhere near the area. So if the hold was put strictly for the fish habitat assessment, my neighbors right across the same water path, the same designated area, has no safety measures for ongoing fuel storage, raw sewage, anything coming from the boats into the said fish habitat. I thank you for your time. I have no reason to remove any bush line, there is no production going to happen after the hold is removed. There's going to be green space and maybe a pavilion put up at the most in a few years. I want to be able to clean the property and keep progressing the way we have been on this said property. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of leftover materials in the ground that need to be removed safely. And I'm asking that the hold be removed in consideration that I'm paying taxes as if the hold don't exist. I'd like to thank everybody for their time. I'd like to thank the municipality for allowing me into this meeting.
Thank you for your presentation. CAO,
Mayor Lawrence, so I'm not sure if any members of council have any questions for the delegation.
Councilor Leyden.
Oh, not so much for the delegation, but I would like this brought back to the next meeting for council to vote on. I think Ms. Chevrier has waited 2 years since the last time we voted on the property. It was May of 2024. I don't like people not having use of their property, so I'd like a chance for council to make a decision on this as soon as possible.
Councilor Costa.
What is the barrier stopping the municipality from removing the hole? Like, what is the barrier?
So again, it comes down to process, and I'm going to save that for the staff report that's going to come next month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is council agreeable to receiving a report and looking to make a decision at the following council meeting? Yes, very good. Direction given? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Chevrier. It will come as a report to the next council meeting for council decision. Councilor Leyden.
I'd like to let Ms. Chevrier know that would be August the 12th. It's early
That's right.
in August, so.
Thank you. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. 7.5, 2024 operating surplus. The council authorizes and directs staff to allocate the 2024 municipal operating surplus into the following reserves and reserve funds. $200,000 into the general reserve and $362,411 into the building capital reserve. Moved by Councillor Timpson, seconded by Councillor Van Breda. Discussion. Councillor Costa. Good.
Like 4 points on this. So it's gonna be that. So this is the budget that we asked for 10%, and we got it down to 6.7, and then we voted for 4.5. So I'd just like to acknowledge that this is a substantial surplus at $562,410 when we were sort of led to believe that this was going to be a very difficult budget. And then my next question is, and I noticed that one of the reasons it's so large is because departmental savings across the organization. And when we had asked for that previously, we were told that was not possible, but obviously it was because it happened, right? So it's too bad it didn't happen earlier. And then
Councilor Costco, I think we need to be fair in that these aren't just savings because we didn't buy as many pens or papers. This is contractors weren't available to do projects. This is large projects that we rely on external people for the most part to do for us. So we very much intended that work to be completed. There was no way for us to know in advance that they wouldn't be able to complete it. So I think I just wanted to clarify that.
but in like I've done project management my entire life, and before I budget, I do some research and make sure there's availability and stuff. And we live in an environment now where the availability is limited. We know that. So project management is changing daily, right? Daily.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, project management is a very important feature, but we can't go to RFP 7 months before we're going to put out a tender. So we can't give you no organization will hold a tender price that long for multi-million-dollar projects that we're often tendering for. So I just think we have to be really clear that there's the suggestion that staff didn't do their best to try to keep the budget low. We did. It was simply that certain projects which we had every reason to believe would occur, could not occur. That's all I wanted to say.
My next point is, I sort of feel that there was a procedural change somewhere along the way. Like my first 2 years on council, they would bring us this surplus and we would sit down and we would sort of decide what we were going to do with the surplus. Where now it feels to me, this is my feeling, only maybe other people don't feel this way, that now it's coming and saying, this is what we should do with the surplus. And there's less room for us as council to direct where we want some of the things to go. And I know that we're talking about it now, and that's why I'm talking, because I want more say. I want to have a say where this money goes. I don't want it just to go into a surplus reserve, because the building reserve has a minimum of $1 million. So if we put it in the building reserve, we don't have the $1 million, so we cannot spend it. It's going to be held there until we have additional funds, which we have a plan in place over time. We will top it up to $1 million. But that means that money is not immediately available to us. Is that not correct?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence. Yeah, that is correct. So there are a couple of items that council needs to be aware of. And when we did the reserve and reserve fund policy, in there, it stated that council chose to put the surplus into the operating reserve in order to decide at a later date what that was going to be used for, or it can be split to be placed in other reserves that are supported through taxation. So in regards to the building reserve, right now, we only have $770,000 in our building reserve. Council wants $1 million in that reserve. So for important things that were to occur within the community, if we have to, for instance, if we had a fire and we needed to pull money for emergency purposes, that's what that's for. And so as of right now, if we need to do major infrastructure work on any of our projects for buildings, we either have to increase taxation because we're not putting enough money into our building reserve, or we have to take on long-term debt, which comes from taxation. So I'm trying to boost up this reserve so that we can have more funds than available for us.
You're trying to boost it back to the
1 million.
council directed, which is a minimum of $1 million.
But we can't spend it until it gets, like, let's say $1 million. So if we want to spend 200,000, it would have to be at $1 million too.
Correct.
Right. So what I'm thinking is, instead of putting this into the building fund, and if we have the Hudson project coming, can we not put this into allocated for that like we did 2 years ago?
Well, we are putting some funds into the operating surplus reserve that council will be able to decide what we can use that on for a later date.
So you're suggesting that we put $300,000 into the building reserve.
Bring it back up to
To the
the
$1 million.
to the $1 million.
which means we cannot touch that money. And then the $200,000 into the general reserve, correct? So then,
To be decided at a later date.
so if we allocated that money for Hudson, we would only have 200,000, which would give us the previous 300,000, which would give us 500,000. So if that project goes over and above that, we can't go to that building reserve and use that funding because we have the minimum of $1 million.
That's correct.
So if we wanted to fund the Hudson project with this surplus, we would have to allocate it now. Because once we put it in the building reserve, we can't touch it. Is that not correct?
Well, for the operating surplus, we can decide at a later date. Right now, we don't know what we're doing with the Hudson Community Center. We don't know what it's going to cost. Council hasn't made any decisions on that. So we can decide at a later date what council would like to use some of those funds. Something may come up that council was unprepared to purchase or anything else. That's what we can use those funds for as well.
But only 200,000. The other money will be locked into the building reserve, which we can spend. So you're suggesting we just put 200,000.
Yes.
200,000, especially for Hudson. We already know it's
We
going
don't have, we don't.
But we don't
just-
know.
We don't have a project that hasn't, council hasn't approved anything in terms of, we've approved
We know that we're doing a project.
I don't know that until council makes that decision at some point in the future, maybe a different council.
Well, we know that we have to do something. And I would feel a lot more comfortable if there was a buffer fund ready for that project than if the money is only $200,000 is
Probably a
something.
lot of projects that we know we need to do and want to do, and we would like to have buffer funds for. I find it, yeah,
Through Mayor Lawrence, Treasurer, can you remind me what you just gave us a number, what's in the reserve right now, the building reserve?
770,487.
So with this 300,000, we're up over $1 million. And then we will have,
100,000. 100,000 going into the reserve at the end of this year, automatically.
and then whatever subsequent council budgets as part of the 2027 budgets, for that reserve as well. So we're up over $1 million by the end of this year by putting this money in. So we're getting there quicker if we put this money in, and then we actually have some money we can pull from it. Because the longer we defer putting money in, the longer we can't touch the 775 that's in there right now.
But you still can't touch the 775 because you can't go over $1 million.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that in order to get to the million, the sooner we
Yeah.
get there, the sooner we have funds available to pull for other projects that hopefully will offset the need to take on some long-term debt or, whatever the case may be.
well, we could, in an emergency, we can use all of that $1 million if it's an emergency.
Emergency.
Councilman Brady.
So can we make a motion at this meeting right now to put the $200,000 into the Hudson Reserve? Or does it have to go into the general reserve right now, today at this meeting, and then at a future date? Can we just say right at this meeting right now, let's move that 200,000 into the Hudson Reserve, so then we have 500,000 ready to go?
I would oppose that because we're creating a reserve for Hudson for something we don't know is going to happen. We have a general reserve, which when we need it, when we need the reserve, we will allocate it to Hudson as a council decides. It might, yeah,
Through Mayor Lawrence, yes. And the reason we do that is because other opportunities may come up prior to the HUD situation. And there is in fact one in closed session tonight that I'm going to be discussing with council. So we may be spending that money sooner.
you're just tying your hands unnecessarily. If we decide to go ahead with something in Hudson, we'll go ahead with it and find the money. Councilor Bacon.
Yeah, I'm fine with what was presented. Vote on it, so. We need to put the money where it needs to go, especially the building reserve.
Okay, anything further? So, all in favor? Raise your hands, thanks, carried, thank you. 7.6, the council received the 2026 municipal operating budget to actual update for the period January 1, 2026 to May 31, 2026. Moved by Council Cosco, seconded by Council Van Breda. Discussion.
My question is, in the fleet, there's no revenue and no employment expenses.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
In the fleet, under fleet, there's no revenue
Oh.
to date and there's no employment expenses to date.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, we currently just hired a mechanic, and that's where that expense would be in fleet. So that's why you don't see anything, because they were just brought on board last Thursday. So that's why there's nothing there. In regards to revenue, the revenue was, some of the revenue was started to receive in June. So usually the revenue within fleet, it doesn't come to us until usually starting halfway through the year. It's just timing.
And if I may, through you, Mayor Lawrence, the other costs associated with the fleet, if you'll recall, are actually that's part of the airport's contribution to the municipality. So that's where the other costs are. They just don't show up on fleet.
Anything further? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 7.7, flag lowering policy. The council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 43-26, being a bylaw to adopt the municipality of Sioux policy number 2-16, municipal flag lowering policy. Moved by Councilor Costco, seconded by Councilor Lego. Discussion. Second, Councilor Timpson.
I was just wondering, so it's by request of the family only, is that correct? It would seem that, a mayor who passed away not long ago, or a year ago, I don't think they knew that they could request this, the family. Would we be, appropriate to advise family of someone like the recent, death of the mayor a year ago? It seems that, how would they know that they could ask or that it was appropriate for,
Through Mayor Lawrence, so it'll be advertised on the website along with the other areas where people go to ask for, greetings for 50th anniversary or 100 birthdays. We get those quite often, and the mayor, gives certificates and acknowledgements and so on. So this would sort of be clustered in that area. We would advertise it that it's available. The reason that we're saying we're asking that the family come forward is because it's entirely possible that someone who served on council, say in the 80s, nobody on staff may realize that they served on council in the 80s. Like there's no way to trigger that for us. Sometimes that information is in the person's obituary, but sometimes it's not. So now we do have a list of every mayor and councillor since beginning of time here at Sioux Lookout. But to check that against every death notice, that wouldn't be really efficient. So we're doing this, we're putting the onus on the family so that essentially we're not accused of missing somebody, because that can happen very easily.
So, if I may just, I was approached by a family and we did go longer half mast. And then subsequent to that, there were other deaths from and it becomes awkward. Do I approach the family and say, would you like so I think I might have suggested to you, can we have a policy on this?
Yes.
To make it cleaner and available to everybody and a process in place? Certainly, Councillor Timpson, do you finish off?
yeah, I mean, not everybody reads the municipal page to see what is available. It just, I've never done that. I think it would be a good idea, to anyone, when we ever hear of a passing of somebody, to contact the family and just ask them. It would seem,
Councillor Legan.
makes sense to me.
So the municipality currently does not have any policy at all on
No.
that. Okay, so it's good to have a policy in place.
I just have a question.
Councillor Coxton.
What happens if the person has no family? Because we do have single people that their parents are elderly, and if they pass and we know that they died, would we still lower the flag? Like we wouldn't be waiting.
I think through you, Mayor Lawrence, in a situation like that, like if a member of council notified me that a prior member of council has passed away and we hadn't been contacted by the community, or pardon me, by the family, then I may reach out in a situation like that. Yeah, that's.
So just reading through the policy, one of the things that we live in a different age and many people decide not to have a service, not to have it, or decide to do the business of dying and then 6 months later have a service. And I didn't read, is there enough flexibility in the policy that when they're having the celebration of life or whatever it is 6 months later, that could be the time that the flag could be lowered? Perhaps when, when a family from out of town comes in or whatever, and it might have more significance at that time.
It's Mayor Lawrence, yes, there are provisions for that. So when it says, the policy reads, when a funeral or memorial service is to be held at a later date, not scheduled within 2 weeks of the notification, the flag shall be lowered at half-mast for a period of 72 hours following the notification of death of the individual, and shall be lowered again until the morning after the day of the funeral.
So if it's 6 months later,
It would go down on the day of the funeral. Yeah.
I mean, the point of having is to have a policy, and I think in its implementation, as the CIO said, I think there'll be some flexibility and some understanding and softness and whatever, but it's the fact that, yes, we've allowed ourselves to lower the flag for councilors, mayors, members of council in the future. We have a policy that allows such. And it also, in some ways, there's always, well, it distinguishes between council and the rest of the public, I suppose, because we're not going to be lowering the flag, we'd be lowering the flag every day of the week if it was for everybody, so. Councillor Timpson.
Is there some policy concerning some very, very high profile members of the community that have contributed a lot who have passed? Is there some way in which, not a person who's never been on council could be honored that way? I won't mention any names, but there have been some, very productive contributing people where this would have been.
It's just, it's a slippery slope,
Very much so.
yeah.
Through Mayor Morris, that wasn't contemplated as part of this policy. Now, there have been, the municipality has assisted in kind ways when other prominent members of the community have passed away when we've been requested to do so. I foresee that we would continue to do that.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, anything further, council? All in favor? Thank you. 7.8. Regulating the use of fireworks. The council directs staff to develop a bylaw to regulate the use of fireworks in the municipality of Sioux. Moved by Councillor Nagle, seconded by Councillor Caulfield. Discussion, Councillor Nagle.
Oh, you brought it up.
I
Yeah.
Oh, because that's true. There are options to consider. Well, I think, thank you for bringing this forward. I'll just start off with some comments. Certainly on a personal level, I live across the bay from let's call it the Rotary Hill, and that seems to be a favorite site for letting off firecrackers willy-nilly at any time of day and any time of night. 4 o'clock in the morning last week, I believe. It wasn't a particular day of celebration, and it was banged. It sounded like I really had felt for people who live in war zones or have lived in war zones. I just can't imagine hearing that at night, waking up to that. But it certainly wakes us up and many people along our way. And it also, many dogs are triggered by fireworks and it sets off a cacophony of disturbed noise from dogs. Never mind the fire risks and whatever that are associated with it. So thank you for bringing this forward and council discussion. Councilor Gospel.
Yeah, this is very needed. And the thing is, I find with fireworks, because I live in an area with a lot of fireworks as well, and I'm very tolerant. I don't mind, you go up, you do your fireworks, pop, 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 pop. But that's not what they do. They go pop, pop, pop. They wait a half an hour, you get your dog settled, pop, pop, pop. You wait a half an hour, you get your dog settled, pop, pop, pop. Like if you're going to do fireworks, please just do the fireworks and do not put the pets through the stress. I think that the big concern in the community are pets. Pets are traumatized by fireworks. And for it to happen every day of the week and
Any day,
not
it's
yeah,
any day.
any time and
Yeah.
inconsistently and not all at once and in the middle of the night. Yeah, we definitely need a policy for this. So thanks for this.
Councilor Van Breda.
Yeah, because right now the noise policy is from 10 a.m. to 6 a.m. or is it 11 a.m.? Oh, sorry, p.m. Sorry, 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. Because I know that in Hudson too, we have the same. I know who it is. It's the same people every night. Every night. It's always as soon as I'm getting into that sleep, like REM sleep, and then you wake up and it's like, okay, well, now I'm awake now, everybody. So yeah, so I can this be enforced like, how will this be enforced? Will it be enforced through bylaw, through OPP, fire department?
Through you, Lawrence. So, again, I think that, part of what we're suggesting is some level of regulation. And in doing so, at least then we know who has them and when and where, which then makes enforcement a lot easier. Obviously, we don't have enforcement staff on, at 11 o'clock at night until, 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever. So we would still be relying on OPP to deal with those specific complaints and concerns at those hours of the night. But generally speaking, I think that by having some form of regulation, it does give us better control and at least awareness of where some of this is and where some of the risks could occur. So that's, it's interesting, and I think maybe some of these things are cyclical. When we were doing our research, our deputy clerk pointed out that we did have a fireworks bylaw that was passed, I think, some point in the 70s, and then it was rescinded, and we had in 2001, and now 25 years have gone by, we've had no fireworks regulation, and now we've come full circle and it's time to regulate again.
Well, I think the difference is the cost. I remember doing fireworks with my children and it was very, very, very expensive. You did it as a treat on a major event, not every weekend. Now they're so inexpensive. It's every weekend. It's the cost of the fireworks that have changed society.
So what direction do you need from council? Because I know the road.
So, through your words, on page 1, 2, 3 of the report, there's a bit of a table there that lists 1 through 7 sort of regulatory models. Staff are recommending that we develop a bylaw based on, well, obviously always about public education, that goes without saying, and all that kind of stuff, but primarily around level 3, which is permit required, level 6, potentially a consumer and recreational fireworks ban with display only exemptions, so that would be only for special events. Or the other option being number 6, and then also section 5, which is a seasonal or wildfire triggered ban. So
it would be triggered by the restricted fire zone that was put in place yesterday or today.
we may go a little further than that. We may give the fire chief the ability to impose even outside of a provincial restricted fire zone. We may say, okay, the conditions in our community are just not favorable for that, so we're putting a fireworks ban in place for the next.
And my observation is most of this is happening, although some of it's happening in the daytime, most of it's happening in the night hours or early morning hours. Whatever you bring back needs to be, in my mind, enforceable so that the police don't have to, it's not complaint driven. It's now the firecrackers going off at 4 a.m. The police can go and, okay. Like bylaw is often complaint driven, right? This needs to be deep enough that the police know that they don't need a call from municipalities.
Will the police enforce bylaw?
Yes, this will be something that we'll just now that I have this direction from council, we're going to go this way. I will set up a meeting with the inspector. And there are lots of things that the OPP can do for us, when our bylaw staff aren't available. And, obviously it will be prioritized like all their other calls for service. But it is still an option that's there. So if council is comfortable through you, Mayor Lawrence, with staff proceeding to develop a bylaw based on those 3 levels in those 3 areas, we have done some preliminary investigations just in looking at what other communities in our region are doing. Most of them do regulate as well. So we have some good material to draw from in developing.
Yes, I think permitting, is to me essential because then Number one, it puts some control on it, and you know when it's not, the police will know, as we will, if it's permitted or not, so. But the permitting is, yeah, that's a level of control that would be basic to me. I think given the age of fires encroaching on municipalities, we don't want to be starting one in our municipality. Reckless action. Right, all in favor of the direction given? Carried, thank you.
Just a question, it is covered under the provincial fire ban though, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So then if there, sorry to interrupt again, so if there was, let's say, somebody did do a firecracker tonight, we would be calling the OPP, right? Not the fire, it would be the OPP. Yeah, like I would say, like it happened tonight, it'll
Absolutely.
be OPP, okay.
And would it be a fine or a public nuisance charge?
That would be up to the OPP.
Oh, okay, because yeah, because I supposed to use the word public nuisance.
Yeah. Thank you.
I guess we're into,
Bylaws.
so bylaw number 40-26, being a bylaw to impose municipal accommodation tax on the purchase of transient accommodation in the municipality of Silicote and rescind bylaw 87-19. Bylaw number 41-26, being a bylaw to deem the lots located at 67th Avenue and 62 7th Avenue in Silicote not to be within a registered plan of subdivision. Bylaw number 43-26, being a bylaw to adopt the municipality of Silicote policy number 2-16, municipal flag lowering policy. Bylaw number 50-26, being a bylaw to authorize direct the mayor and the clerk to execute an agreement between the corporation of the municipality of Silicote and Kiewit Naska Limited for the design and tender document preparation for the Hidden Lake landfill leachate collection system rehabilitation and access road construction project in the amount of $202,250 plus HST. And that bylaws number 40, 41, 43, and 50 be read a first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor. Two hands, Timpson. All in favor, carried. Thank you. Notices of motion. This is notice of motion, correct? Correct. Creation of Silicote Community Beautification Committee, filed by Councillor Joni Costa. Whereas council recognizes the importance of maintaining an attractive, welcoming, and vibrant community for residents, businesses, and visitors. And whereas community beautification contributes to civic pride, economic development, tourism, and overall quality of life. And whereas the municipality wishes to encourage community involvement in enhancing public spaces and improving the visual appeal of Silicote, therefore be it resolved that council establish a community beautification committee to identify, promote, and recommend initiatives that enhance the appearance and attractiveness of the municipality. Be it further resolved that the committee shall, one, identify opportunities to improve the visual appearance of the municipal properties, public spaces, and community gateways. Two, promote beautification projects such as landscaping, flower planting, public art, community cleanup initiatives, and seasonal decorations. Three, encourage partnerships with community organizations, businesses, schools, indigenous partners, and volunteers. Four, explore funding opportunities, grants, sponsorships, and donations to support beautification projects. Five, develop recommendations and priorities for beautification initiatives and present them to council. And six, foster pride by encouraging community participation in maintaining and enhancing the appearance of Silicote. Be it further resolved that the committee shall consist of council representatives, municipal staff, and committee members appointed by council. So this is a notice of motion, so we need a mover,
Just move.
and then it comes back to subsequent council meeting.
Correct.
Mover,
I moved it.
moved by Councillor Thompson.
Thank you.
11.2, creation of Silicote Museum Committee, filed by Councillor Joan Costa. Whereas the municipality recognizes the historical, cultural, and educational value of artifacts and collections formerly housed in the Silicote Museum, and whereas the municipality wishes to preserve, protect, and promote these artifacts for the benefit of residents and visitors, and whereas opportunities may exist to display museum artifacts throughout the community in public facilities, educational institutions, cultural centers, and other appropriate locations. Therefore, be it resolved that council establish a museum committee to review the inventory of artifacts and collections from the former Silicon Museum and make recommendations regarding their preservation, display, and use within the community. Be it further resolved that the committee shall, one, review and assess the current museum collection and its condition. Two, explore opportunities to display artifacts in municipal facilities and other suitable community locations. Three, consult with local organizations, Indigenous partners, historical groups, and community members regarding the preservation and interpretation of artifacts. Four, develop recommendations for the long-term management and accessibility of the collection. And five, report its findings and recommendations to council. Be it further resolved that the committee shall consist of council representatives, municipal staff, and community members appointed by council. Same as the last one, moved tonight, moved by Councillor Costco, coming to subsequent council meeting. Thank you. Moving on to outside resolutions and requests for endorsement. I'm just going to say a few things before I get into the, just briefly, I will, as I spoke with Councillor Costco today, Councillor Timpson today about this, and I actually mentioned to Mayor Moto and Fred Lake that I won't be supporting our support of this resolution. And I'm not sure how we process that. I don't know. The reason being, some of the things in here I find awkward. There's 444 municipalities in Ontario, and I'm not sure they're referring to all municipalities or only OPP police municipalities. OPP police 303, comprising about 2.5 million people, and the other 100 or so are city or regional police forces, comprising 13 million people in Ontario. I don't think that the province is going to suddenly take over policing costs, which are billions of dollars a year for across the province. I think it's I don't disagree with some of the things in here, but the real point is, for, as you know, 11 years, we lobbied for a policing cost discount. We finally got one, which has, quite frankly, reduced our calls for service costs to slightly below average last year. When we attended the meeting, our delegation meeting with the Solicitor General in February, we already got that discount. And what our main message to him was, thank you. You've given us what we asked for. I don't want to now put our name on something that we're below average. Last year was unusual because of certain, and I think it was for everybody, there were still dishing out costs associated with the large salary increases that had happened in the OPP. They had a backlog, whoever these labor terms are branded. They had a settlement and then it was distributed. So our policing costs didn't go as low as I think they will this year. I think they will be this year lower than last year, but we are on a calls for service cost basis. We are below average. I don't want. But it's not a slap in the face to say the Solicitor General do more for us. They've done what we asked for. So that's my take, Council. I'm not sure how you feel.
I agree.
Councillor Van Braden.
I would say too that Red Lake supported my motion to put us back on the Northern tax credit. Therefore, I will be supporting Red Lake's motion as well.
It's your choice. Anybody else? Okay, Councillor.
I agree with you, Doug, that we don't want to attach ourselves to anything negative around policing when it does so much for us. We can't really.
So I should read this and then put it to a vote. Is that the way? Okay, good brief. Here we go. Municipality of Red Lake, Ontario Provincial Police Sustainable Police Services Funding. Whereas Ontario municipalities are required to maintain a police service or detachment board, and whereas policing is provincially legislated responsibility, yet municipalities are bearing the brunt of rising costs to implement provincial mandates. And whereas the Association of Municipalities of Ontario has asserted that the fiscal framework that enables municipalities to provide critical policing and public safety services is broken, and AMO requests an urgent update to the provincial municipal fiscal relationship. And whereas double-digit increases in municipal annual Ontario provincial police budgets are unsustainable, especially as Ontario Municipal Police Services tackle provincial responsibilities, including mental health, addictions, and homelessness, which place police resources under enormous financial strain. And whereas municipalities across Ontario are experiencing increased police operating and capital costs directly attributable to new compliance and operational standards required under the Community Safety and Policing Act 2019, the Act. And whereas the costs of other measures such as providing provincial court security are rising and are not part of providing for adequate and effective municipal policing. And whereas these developments especially negatively impact rural municipalities, now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Sioux hereby requests that the province provide financial assistance to municipalities to offset all additional costs directly and demonstrably incurred as a result of compliance with the Act, not general increases to police budgets. And further, the council urges the province of Ontario to expeditiously review and reform its current police grant programs to ensure a more equitable distribution of funding to municipalities, so that communities with changing populations and expanding service demands receive fair and sustainable provincial support, and that this resolution be forwarded to the municipality of Red Lake. Moved by Councilor Gambetta, seconded by. If there's no seconder, then it will be.
It does.
It does on the table. I see no seconder. You're seconding it, or?
Wouldn't it be better just to withdraw it from the agenda?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, there seems to be a desire to from at least one member of council to support the resolution. So either there's a seconder and a vote's taken and it's perhaps defeated, or there's no seconder and there's no vote taken.
Which,
No vote taken, it just dies on the agenda.
so I'll call a final time for a seconder.
I'm a bit confused. Was what you just read, that was what Red Lake had to say?
Yeah,
You had said you didn't support.
I said, I said I did support it because Red Lake supported my motion to put us back on the Northern Tax Credit. Therefore, I'll support Red Lake's motions, but it seems like I'm the only one on the table, so I moved it. If nobody else seconds it, it'll die on the floor pretty much. If I'm wrong.
Yeah, I just wonder if it's a good idea that we voted this.
We didn't vote. If there's no seconder, no vote was taken.
I'm just thinking of the optics to KDMA and to Red Lake and so on.
Well, CEO would help me.
Through Mayor Lawrence, so yeah. These motions are circulated from municipalities from time to time. Occasionally they're asked to be put on the agenda. This one was. I will perhaps note that over the last 11 years, KDMA and its member municipalities did not come to Sioux Lookout's aid when we were fighting the fight for policing fairness and equity. So I think it's important to look at that overall messaging in the last decade around that.
I guess, and Kenora will be in the same position as us, as will drive the table, the municipalities that are currently receiving discounts through the new regulatory discount table are Sioux Lookout, Pickle Lake, Kenora, and Dryden. Red Lake is this close to entering the discount. Their policing costs are going up, and once they get into the discount table, their costs will start to go down. The mechanism is there for them already. I don't know that they understand that, but
Of course, we don't know whether Pickle Lake and Kenora are supporting the resolution either.
they can make their decision. But I've told you the reason for why I'm not supporting it. So I'm going to call last time for a seconder. Seeing none, the motion's, as you say, dead.
That is on the paper.
I think that's better than having it defeated.
I did tell Fred today, Mayor Moulton today, I was in a meeting with him, and I told him that I would be recommending against supporting this, and then I would explain to him at some point, and then I'll see him again tomorrow. Virtually, I'll see him, and I'll explain why. And one of the, Jamie Christoph sits on the health unit board, and I'll explain it to him as well.
Just a question for Brian, like, does the CEO from the reach out to you when they're doing something like that, since you've had success with being on it, reach out?
So their CEO is relatively new, so I had a couple of conversations with her, very, very nice. But not new to the role, but new to Red Lake. And we've had a few conversations. This particular topic hasn't come up in our conversations yet.
All right, we have another outside resolution. Ontario most outdated property reassessment in Canada, a call to return to property tax reassessment cycle. Whereas municipalities in Ontario are currently required to calculate property taxes based on property valuations from 2016, over a decade ago, and whereas all other provinces in Canada have continued regular reassessment cycles, resulting in properties being reassessed multiple times since 2016, making Ontario the most outdated in Canada. Whereas the prolonged pause in the reassessment cycle has created significant distortions in assessed values, resulting in inequities among property classes. And whereas outdated assessments negatively impact investment decisions, economic competitiveness, municipal planning, and disproportionately affect independent small businesses. And whereas the continued pause on property tax reassessment in Ontario creates uncertainty for municipalities, property owners, and investors regarding future tax liabilities. And whereas a current and predictable assessment system is essential to supporting strong communities, maintaining fairness in taxation, and encouraging economic investment consistent with the Ontario government's objective of being open for business. And whereas the lack of clarity regarding the timing of the next reassessment is contributing to delayed or deferred investment decisions, thereby impacting economic competitiveness across the province. And whereas municipal governments, particularly in rural and small urban communities, rely on a stable and updated assessment system to address financial pressures, including inflation, rising labor costs, and increasing service demands. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the municipality of Sioux requests that the government of Ontario commit to a clear and prompt return to the property tax reassessment cycle. Be it further resolved that the province provided defined timeline and transparent plan for implementing future reassessments on a regular and predictable basis. And be it further resolved that the Government of Ontario work in coordination with the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, MPAC, to ensure properties are reassessed in an accurate and timely manner. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be circulated to Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. Moved by Councillor Lakeland, seconded by Councillor Van Breda. Discussion. Councillor Van Breda.
I'll say two pretty quickly. So I think it was 2 weeks ago, we had somebody come up to Sioux who's running for the Ontario Liberal Party leadership. I think it was good, but like, and I'll say more, I guess maybe I'll say it now when we go and say like what we've done in the month. You know, we're talking about Northern Ontario. And I said, however, kind of like spin the tables around. I said the biggest elephant in the room that no political leader wants to talk about is we've been frozen for 10 years for MPAC. And I said, like, if you're going to be the leader of a party that wants to get in power again, you know, this is something that you're going to have to talk about. And it's uneasy because you don't want people's taxes to go up. But I think this is the biggest elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about. And even he didn't really have an answer for it. Even he was, I don't know. Because again, we're 10 years behind. We cannot jump forward 10 years. So I don't think any political leader wants to take this on because there is no answer at this point. We're so far behind. There is no answer.
Council, any further discussion? And I'll call the vote. We have a mover and a seconder. Sorry, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Questions, comments from councillor reports? That's where we're at. Councillor Costa.
So this month we did our TRC, we closed the memorial on Wellington Street and we opened the garden at the TIC. We did it in partnership with Onwell, which was a really amazing experience. So they led the closing of the memorial on Wellington Street. And Tom Fiddler consulted with them, who did the cultural piece. So the event was quite lovely. the space is actually like to have an outdoor event in that space. It was lovely. Like it was like a nice little venue actually. And there were trees there and we had a meal and we had quite a few people come and we planted the garden. And the town has agreed to water the garden for us. I was trying to water it, but it was difficult. And the plants are coming along nicely. It looks beautiful. It's turned out really good. Jesse Fiddler is going to be adding his art piece within the next month. He's hoping to get it there before Blueberry. So if you're there, stop and check it out once it goes. We will do a social media piece once the art arrives. I've had a meeting with Brian. I've had a couple of discussions with different citizens over issues. And the other thing that we're doing is we're doing the Bannock Bake Off. So Doug, are you gonna come and help us at the Bannock Bake Off?
The date?
It's July 31st.
What's that?
Yeah.
Bake Off.
Oh, yeah.
the-
Yeah.
Opening
It's
ceremony.
next Friday.
Last
Yeah.
year, it's when it placed on the day of.
Just so you know, we do have a costume that we will be giving you. I'll let Darlene tell about that, so, yeah. Darlene's chosen the costumes and the theme.
Yeah, the only thing on my calendar is the opening of the Bluebell.
Okay, perfect.
Sure.
And then I was hoping that Brian would give us Michelle Berry and Elizabeth again. They really enjoyed it last year. It's really good to have staff there. And I think they learned some things and they're anxious, we're all anxious to learn more. It's just Darlene, sort of, and Dory and Ted are our teachers, so it's good to learn.
Costumes are designed for the heat.
Sort of, yeah.
All
Yeah.
black.
And I just wanted to say, like, I know this is off topic, but for all the evacuees and people who've been through so much trauma with fires, just wish everyone well. If you can help. And even with donations or whatever, notice some of the communities are asking for financial donations. If you're able to do that, that would make people's lives easier.
Counselor Timpson.
Yes, I'll report on 2 months because I missed last meeting. I underestimated how long it would take to drive from Vancouver to Calgary to be on the, believe me, it's a very slow drive. Anyhow, I just wanted to report on the FCM conference that I attended with Councillor Randrita and Councillor Angikin. It was, in my view, one of the best that I've been to. Again, I stress for people who want to be on council, you really need to go to these events. And as one example, I was able to connect with the person concerning an issue that the town has dealt with for years. And Brian had noted that he was unable to reach that man. So I went up to him and said, I want you to contact our CAO. And guess what? He did. And that's what happens when you have that personal contact. I don't know whether it's yielded any results, but at least it was a start. And secondly, and the trade fair was really, really good. And Darlene had to buy a new suitcase to take all the goodies home. But there were some really, really interesting environmental things that I will be taking to the Environment Committee. One is where they were making plastic out of wheat. And another is a company that would like to connect with Sioux Lookout and our recycle company, because they will take plastics that nobody else will take, like your chairs, plastic chairs, stuff that's not recyclable now and these are all contacts that you can make when you go to these conferences. So it was really fun, not to mention the food and the entertainment, which we really enjoyed. And so that was last month. The Environment Committee is organizing a cleanup for Blueberry so that it at least looks nice for Blueberry. And in terms of the hospital, the MRI should be operational by the end of the summer. And long-term care process is underway. All the planning has been submitted. It's just now a waiting game for the next step from the ministry to where we go. very slow, but it is moving along. And the other thing is that I've been in discussion with a municipal or a First Nations leader in the town who approached the municipality about working together to deal with the situation that we're observing on the street with alcoholism and addiction and homelessness. And we've had a couple of very good discussions, and hopefully it will yield some positive directions with everybody working together on that. So, yeah, that's basically my month or two. So,
Thank you, Councillor Van Breda.
You had a meeting with Brian and Doug regarding alcohol availability in our OBP billing. Also say to met with Dylan Morando. I think that's, I don't know how you say his last name. I think it's interesting that anybody running for any party leadership comes to Sioux Lookout. Doors open, no matter what political stripe or color you want to come in. I thought that was pretty cool. He made the trip up, and that he visited all 12 Northern Ontario ridings. I really appreciate that. He made a point that Northern Ontario will not just one generalization, like Northeastern Ontario is different than Northwestern Ontario. So I thought that was very nice for him to come and see us. And then finally, again, if anyone's free to help clean up Sioux Lookout, it's July 22nd at 5:30. We're meeting at Centennial Park. We're going to clean up Centennial Park and around the TIC as well, cut back some of the bushes, just to spruce some things up before the Blueberry Festival. And we also unveiled the new, the former Drake and Cash and Carry sign. It says "Welcome to Sioux Lookout." So that sign will have the slotted inserts right now because the Chamber of Commerce ones by the roundabouts coming down. So we're taking those inserts and we're going to put it there on that sign. So, and it's nice, it's reflective. So when you come in at night, you'll see "Welcome to Sioux Lookout." And it looks really nice. So me and Alana, Pizzo, Carol, and a few other people cut back the trees a bit more so you can see it. And yeah, looks good.
Councillor Layton.
Yeah, just one committee of adjustment meeting on the 18th of June, I believe. So, Council Costco. That was so long ago. That's all I had all month.
Very good, thank you. Councillor Andrew.
This month of June, June 4th to the 7th, I was at the FCM conference in Edmonton with Joyce and Reese, and I did a slideshow here of pictures of the meeting that you missed. There were a lot of them. June 9th, had an OPP detachment chairs meeting in Thunder Bay. And that went well, and they want to have another one, I think, in November. So it was good information that they presented us with. Okay, on Tuesday, June 16th, we had a TRC meeting. And we were busy preparing as well for the June 24th Memorial Garden event. On Friday, June 19th, Indigenous Peoples Day. The National Indigenous Peoples Day. I was invited by Minoyawan as part of the council or the town to help with their barbecue. So I showed up there at 10:30 and I didn't know what to do, but they kind of told me you have to be like a person who brings this or does that. So I was restocking chips and cleaning up the table, the area, making sure things were safe and clean. And I did that until the afternoon at 2:30, and then that was that. So that was good. I don't know if anybody recognized me. I wasn't campaigning or anything. But anyway, okay. And then on Wednesday, June the 24th, we had the Memorial Garden event that Joan had talked about with the different um, partners. Sorry, I had my notes in my phone here. But I wanted to say thank you to Anwa for sure for taking down the site, the original memorial site. And thank you to other partners, Sioux First Nations Health Authority, the United Church, the Chamber of Commerce, Lac Sioux First Nation Home Hardware. They put together the monument or whatever it's called. And then there were many other individuals who were involved in putting together that event and who came out and volunteered and did the chairs and tables and the cleanup afterwards. So it was good the way it happened. It was meant to happen. And I hear the flowers are coming in nicely. The irises are blooming.
The lilies.
Lilies, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, that was really good. And for the TRC now, the upcoming event is that we will be entering a team of 10 people into the Silicon Blueberry Festival Bannock Bake Off. So I would like to see everybody come out and support our team. I'm not sure if I should say what the.
Go ahead.
Okay. It's gonna be, the team is called the TRC Roper Bannock Team. Okay, so as the team members, we're all gonna be dressed as Mrs. Roper. A roper. So anyway, we're gonna probably make, we have two different bannock bannocks that we can enter, and one of them is a traditional recipe and the other one is a whatever you come up with, whether it's gonna be sweet something or last year we entered a garlic bannock, which was really good. Then savory, I guess is the word, savory, yeah. So anyway, that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna have fun with that and see what kind of impact we make. I know it's not cultural or anything, but yeah. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, hope to see everybody out there.
Thanks, Darlene. I just rechecked my calendar. I'm kind of busy.
You've ordered the wigs, don't worry about it. They're coming.
You could do your Mr. Roper.
There you go. My month was Health Unit Board meeting, Indigenous Peoples Day week. There was the proclamation of the TIC, the Slifna, Menayel, and Powwow, and provided remarks at the National Organic Friendship Center, Powwow. Wonderful events, great turnouts at all of them, and also was invited and attended the Memorial Garden ceremony, which I'm sorry we have to have a Memorial Garden, but it's a lovely place and it was a lovely ceremony. So congratulations to the TRC. Met with Councillor Van Breda as he noted with CAO. Met with the same provincial leader aspirant and I'm contacted by provincial aspirant. As Councillor Van Breda said, any stripe or color, we'll pass on the messages about Siouxmalpoch. And had a meeting with our MPP Saul Mamaquay and the CAO to discuss some advocacy that we're asking him to do and update him on a few things. Meeting with a local citizen about a few local citizens about a few various issues. Various meetings with the CAO, of course, KDSB Governance Committee meeting, and as Councillor Timpson, we'll miss that relationship you have with some people. Councillor Timpson she mentioned the meeting with an Indigenous leader of an Indigenous agency, and today we met together with Councillor Timpson, CAO, myself, and that leader, and had I thought a very productive discussion. And that was enabled by our relationship with Councillor Timpson has had over the years. So Thank you. That was my month. The next month looks interesting. We now have a closed session, so we'll move into closed session at 6:55 PM to discuss matters of general nature as noted below. Subject matter related to position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001 as amended section 239(2)K. Two items, Bombers and Fair Street. And subject matter related to personal matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal or local board employees pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001 as amended section 239(2)B. Two items, appointments to council boards, commissions, and committees, and staffing matter. Moved by Councilor Nagle, seconded by Councilor Timpson, all in favor. We are now in closed session. Maybe we'll just take a few minutes break and come back in a few minutes. Nobody's going very far.
Did it die?
No, it's